name is Ron Ross. I'm with the Georgia Department of Community Affairs, and the following presentation will help you in originating Georgia Dream loans. If at any time you have any questions, please give me a call at 404-368-7177. As a general starting point to originate Georgia Dream loans, it's very helpful to have the brochure, a current copy of the seller guide, making sure that all the rules, regulations, and current guidelines are followed, the checklist and forms, and a password. And these passwords to get online to register your loans are issued by your internal lenders. We do not issue these passwords for you. You would need to contact somebody internally with your lender to get your own individual user ID and password. It is also very, very helpful, and the screen a little while later will show you how to register to receive our rate sheets to make sure that every Thursday you're up to date with the most current information regarding rates and any guideline changes. It is very, very helpful when starting the process to make sure that your customers have the Georgia Dream brochure so they're up to date on the most current general guidelines and how to qualify. They also have to go through homebuyer education at some point during the process. These certificates are good for 12 months, so it's generally accepted pretty helpful that if they do the education part as early as they can, then they can spend the rest of the time making sure that they're getting their loan approved. Are responsible for the underwriting and loan approval. We're certainly here to help with overall guidelines, make sure they qualify for our program, but the process itself is going to follow regular internal lender guidelines. We do not underwrite these loans. Once you have the loan approved and once you're ready to register the loan, you go to our website. A screen a little bit later will show you how to do that and register and lock in the loan. Regarding the down payment assistance, if you're going to use Georgia Dream down payment assistance, it has to be with the Georgia Dream First Mortgage, and it cannot be layered with any other programs. So if somebody wants Georgia Dream down payment assistance, the only first mortgage that you can use is our first mortgage at our rate. If your customer is looking at another source of down payment assistance in the area or around the state, you can look at our first mortgage only with another down payment assistance program, but again, these cannot be combined. Please call for any additional information there. When you enter in the down payment assistance, you must make sure that in your automated underwriting, or if you're using FHA scorecard, that the down payment assistance is entered as subordinate financing. It's not a gift, it's not a grant, it's not an asset. It's subordinate financing, and your DU findings or LP findings will acknowledge the right things to verify that it's coming from an acceptable source. One of the things that people seem to struggle with is making sure that the loan amount is correct and reflective of the minimum investment that the customer must have in the transaction, which is $1,000. This is a step-by-step calculation of how to do that. There also is an Excel spreadsheet on the website that helps you calculate these maximum loan amounts. But be very, very careful with calculating the maximum loan amount because it calculates to the penny. And as everyone knows, quite often an aggregate adjustment is made at the table, and you have to make sure that the customer has at least $1,000 in the transaction. When it comes time to prepare your good faith estimate and the HUD-1, a couple things to keep in point. All third-party fees, appraisals, credit report, attorney fees, so on and so forth, they stay the same. There's no need at all to change any of those. When it comes to the origination fee, we do allow up to 2% in origination fee, cannot charge a discount point. So per our guidelines, you are allowed to charge up to 2%. Please check internal guidelines. Many lenders who are partners with us have limited their originators to charge only 1%, even though we do allow up to 2%. If you're doing a 203K loan, then you are allowed to charge the reasonable and customary extra charges that FHA 203K loans allow. Keep in mind, as I've said all along, customer has to have $1,000 in the transaction. You could get cash back at closing, however, the customer must net in $1,000. The maximum tax service fee is $67. You can close a loan as an interest credit. Please refer to section 312.2 in the seller guide or give us a call to help you do that. RESPA announced some changes to how to close these loans. The second mortgage, the down payment assistance, now closes with its own HUD, and there are some fees that can be charged on the second. And one of the required items that we receive when we review the package is a copy of the good faith estimate for the second. So these are the fees that can be charged. You can charge up to 1% origination fee on the second mortgage down payment assistance. If the attorney is going to charge extra to close a Georgia Dream loan, since there is a second mortgage package, the maximum amount extra that can be charged is $150. There are going to be filing fees or recording fees, whatever you feel, a 10-page deed to charge. I've seen many lenders charge $35, knowing that that's going to be very, very close to whatever the particular county might be. The intangible tax, $3 per thousand, is charged, and then the $10 GRMA fee is also charged. So the maximum amount of charges, number of charges, is a total of 5 charges on the down payment assistance. This is the current website page. It is gadream.com. And I mentioned earlier about receiving the rate sheet. In the bottom left-hand corner, you'll see a section where it says sign up for weekly Georgia Dream rate sheet. And you enter in your email there. You'll be asked to confirm it one extra time. And that way, every Thursday, you receive the rate sheet. And the most important part about that is to look through it and see if you see anything where it says update or pending changes, to make sure that you're always up to date with our current guideline. This is also the links to all our information. There's too much information to go into in this brief presentation. So as you go through the different links, if you have any questions, please give us a call. After you reserve the loan, you need to generate your DCA Georgia Dream documents. So there'll be another presentation on how to reserve a loan, but once it's reserved, the tabs across the top, the middle one says loan status, and you would click on that one, and you should see all the loans that you have reserved at that point. To the left of your customer, there are some icons, and the one that says PDF Docs is where you want to click, and that will open up every single form we have in our system. So don't worry that you see all these forms to the left-hand side box. You just click on the individual ones that you need for your origination. Those are to the right. We name all forms SF and then a number. So SF 10, 12, 15 maybe. You need the SF15 if you have an adult household member who's not on your 1003, then that adult household member has to fill out that form to tell us what the income is. SF16, and then the last one is either the SF72 or 72 REO, depending on if the seller is a person seller or a foreclosed property. The last form you need is not an SF form, it's just a household income worksheet. So once you check the ones you need, you click on the tab at the bottom where it says Generate Documents, and then they'll all come up for you. You hit the button that says Print All, and they open up as a PDF form that you can type into, but most people at that point just print them out and fill in the rest of the information. One of our forms that we refer to quite often is the underwriting package checklist. This is the checklist and the stacking order for when people send us their forms for our review. The Georgia Dream documents are only the first 8 things on that list. Everything else should be on a file anyway. But just to point out a couple points, on the household income worksheet, be very, very aware that what we consider household income is money coming in the door, cash flow coming into the entire household. It may not be what your qualifying income is. There are 3 ways to calculate the household income. If you have any questions on which way and which is the fastest one to use, give us a call for that. The 3 years rental history on the form SF12 is quite often not filled out entirely. This is a little bit of extra information we require than your regular 1003. Since you have to be a first-time home buyer, as defined as the federal government as not owning a home in the prior 3 years, we do ask for documentation about where they lived for those 3 years and who their landlord is. So please make sure that is filled out in its entirety. The SF16 and 72 or 72 REO are forms that are signed by the buyer as well as the seller. When it comes to underwriting, the credit decision is 100% on the lender's side of things. Your underwriter is the final say-so for all things credit, depending on the mortgage insurer, be it an FHA loan, USDA, or VA loan. They must follow those general guidelines. The numbers you see on the screen are the main numbers to reach their building, but by all means, give me a call if you like. My name again is Ron Ross. My phone number is 404-368-7177. We thank you so much for considering originating a Georgia Dream loan, and let us know if we can help you.